In this episode, we will talk about common mistakes first-time visitors make in the Philippines. BioLurk says, mistakes you made when you were still clueless. I remember a lot of them, like in my first visit when a close relative of my girlfriend asked to borrow 1,000 pesos from me and I gave it to her without a second thought. Obviously, she never had any intentions to pay it back. Yes, never give money to anyone in the Philippines as a loan. You will never see it again. No profession says, in my young and dumb early 20s, one night I argued with a trike driver while drunk. He got two of his friends and they beat the snot out of me. I learned hand wipes are a must when out and about. Remember, arguing in the Philippines rarely works out in your favor, especially at night in the dark with a Filipino trike driver. They do not care. Even if you are wrong, just accept the fact that you are not in your country and right or wrong does not matter. This person is lucky he's still alive to tell his story. Oftentimes, that is not the case. Cerrito says, got burnt by the fake taxi concierge with the podium and nice white uniform. $48 for the ride to the hotel. That should have been only about $6. Remember this, in the Philippines, even officials or people that seem to be official, wearing uniform or part of the government, imagine if immigration scams you, what makes you think some woman in a white uniform is above that? Remember, every single person is out to scam you. They are nice to you for a reason. Do not fall for any of these taxi scams. Do your research, understand how to get to the airport from your hotel. Or if you don't want the headache, simply pay a little bit more and have the hotel pick you up. Yes, you pay more, but it's still half the price of getting scammed at the airport. Meandrus says, not carrying hand wipes with me at all times and had to sacrifice my glasses cleaning cloth to wipe my ass at a mall toilet. If you haven't heard by now, almost no toilets in the Philippines have toilet paper. You might think to yourself, well, I will use the bidet to wash my ass and walk around with swampy butt. Even then, the water does not work. The bidet itself is full of shit at the top of the hose. So, always be sure to have toilet paper. This is not a joke. Even in some restaurants, well, of course, restaurants, even in some hotels and malls, there is no toilet paper. Estimate says, a borrow is essentially a gift. Just say no. Once again, do not give money. Big Gorilla says, my first time ever in the Philippines, coming out of the airport, the woman that runs up to you asking you if you want a taxi, do not believe her as she is working with a group of hustlers and they are not a legitimate taxi. They will charge you 4 to 5 times as much as a real taxi will cost you. I learned from my experience, 1,000 pesos for a ride that should have been costing you 250 pesos. Here are some taxi tips. If you've never been to the Philippines, you must learn to arrange a ride or at least understand how to get to your place. Many times, as soon as you walk out, not just one or two or three, but multiple people will offer you a taxi. And if you don't know, they are not legitimate taxis. They're simply hustlers. They get a group of people in their private vehicles and one or two of them will try to get you to accept the rides. Sometimes they stay at podiums. Sometimes they even have a booth, but at the end of the day, they're not actual taxis you can haul down on the street. These are private organizations that try to take, and sometimes they have something in their hand, like a clipboard or sign or any other nonsense to make it seem legitimate. They're extra friendly for a reason. Do not fall for this. And they know that you only have 1,000 pesos most likely, and they never, ever have change. What are you going to do on your first night after 20-something hour flight? Argue with someone? Find a nearby 7-Eleven? Even then, they will not stop or say they have to go, so you never get your change. Always use Grab or other official taxi services. Take the white taxis if you're coming in Cebu and make sure that the person, the security guard that's writing the piece of paper, writes down the license plate and ensure that the taxi driver turns the meter on. If they do not turn the meter on, simply walk out and report that taxi driver. Simple as that. I know it's annoying, but this is the reality of the Pinoy land. Shrinking Demigore says, not bringing my own toilet paper. I'm sure the security at SM loves to see it in there every time they check my bag. I learned that being generous and kind is considered a weakness amongst the locals. Yes, that is also accurate. Atlanta UTD says, one thing I can say about this sub, despite all the noise from bitter locals, reading here in advance of arriving saved me from a lot of potential mistakes. That is the entire purpose of this channel, to make you be aware of all the things that is wrong with this country. On that note, about the taxi scams, to be fair, that happens in every country that is not a first world country. So, it's not just the Philippines, that is the entire point. The Philippines is not a magical place, a place where people are extremely friendly to you for no reason. It's the exact same as any other third world country. More people share the taxi scam experience. Artistic Course says, got done by this as well. Over 1,400 pesos when the Grab ride back was 250 pesos. 33 hours the air leading up to that point, and I cannot sleep on the airplane. They just do not tilt enough. Fully aware how bad it got burnt. Now, I hope it stops someone else, at least. I suppose this is about the taxi situation, and they know this. Filipinos understand the long flight, and they use this to their advantage. They're friendly, maybe offering you a nice air-conditioned ride to your hotel, and you're thinking, I've heard Filipinos are the kindest people on earth, and you don't think twice until you get burnt when you realize the real cost of things. Interesting C says, hone your skills at distinguishing between lady and lady boy. When I asked if she's a man or woman, she replied, that's up to you. People don't realize that the Philippines has at least 3 to 4 times the number of trans than they do in Thailand. Thailand has a reputation for this, perhaps because they were the initial country with something like this. However, if you want to go by numbers, percentages, and sheer volume, the Philippines has many more lady or whatever you want to call them, trans, than Thailand, for example. Do not be fooled, and simply asking someone if they are doesn't always guarantee you. On multiple occasions, women have lied or men have lied to me, telling me they were women, but in reality, they were not. They were simply hoping that somehow I would change my mind when they arrived at the hotel. It is disgusting. Do not give in to these, because sometimes they can be dangerous as well. They have accomplices working with them to ensure that they get some kind of money out of you, because they will simply lie and say that you made a move on them or did something to them, and reality can never happen. And they will threaten you with the police, which is also on their payroll. This is all a scam. You have to be aware of all these things. On a personal note, I want to let people know that the Philippines is not as inexpensive as vloggers would have you believe. If you do get something cheaper than your home country, it is because it is lower quality, subpar, inferior, or simply smaller than anything else you pay in your home country. So in essence, it is not cheaper. Keep that in mind if you are living on a small budget, thinking you'd come here and live comfortably. Of course, you can live on a maybe even $500 a month budget. However, you will not be comfortable. You will not have proper accommodations, proper food, healthcare, transportation, entertainment, anything like that. Can you survive and barely scrape by? Of course. Pinoys do it on $100 a month. But is that really living? What has been some of your mistakes coming to the Philippines for the first time? What did you do wrong? And you look back now embarrassed to know that you actually did something like that. The best comment from yesterday's video, should I end my relationship with the Filipina, is from C.D. Morrissey. The Philippines stinks. That it does. The worst comment is from T.A. Builder. I've been married to my Filipina for 10 years now, and she's the best thing that has ever happened to me. It just keeps getting better every day. Really, is that why you clicked and watched and commented on a video that says, should I end my relationship with my Filipina? Methinks you are a liar, sir. Also, 10 years ago, which means you at least have known her for 15 or let's say 12 years ago, before the rise of social media and online transactional way of doing business with the foreigner. Back in those days, you actually needed to physically go to a store to have money. But these days, with online remittances and dozens of applications offering you to simply send money to a woman, times have changed. They've become very greedy. They've always been greedy, but now they have the tools to extract money from you without ever being involved with you physically. Try to meet someone today and tell me you've been happy for 10 years. Subscribe if you want to know the truth and the facts of the Philippines. Thanks for listening. God bless.